Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Enterprise, this is the Galileo. Come in, please. Come in. Enterprise, this is the Galileo. Come in, please.
Welcome back to week three on the shuttle, and this is where we left it. I would dearly like to get on with work today, but power's out for some stupid reason. Not a cloud in the sky, but the power's out, which means I got, well, I can certainly use a battery to test the light, and I might just go ahead and build the box for the exhaust, or the big warp engine, I guess the big impulse engine in the back there. I may go ahead and build that box. I can do that, but without lights for the lamp, or luckily the camera's on a battery, I can't get too much done, so we'll just have to take the day as it comes. Morning folks, it's Tuesday, and I was taking my mind off of the interior of the shuttle for a bit yesterday, and I decided I was going to start working on the base, start mocking something up. And I even went out and got some foam, and I was going to carve some foam out of carve some rocks out of styrofoam, and I may still do that. But I was at the dentist this morning. Yes, I finally got my other appointment, and I went by the pet store on the way out, and I found some lava rock. And I think lava rock is going to be a much better base. Something like that. I haven't. I'm just pulling it out of the bag now, so I haven't organized it, and I may chip some of this off and break it up a bit, and I might do a combination of foam and lava rock. But what I like about lava rock is it's unpredictable. You can't you take the contours that nature gave you, and you don't try to make something artificial looking. I know the charm of doing styrofoam rocks is that they are artificial looking, but I think I can do something here that's going to make a good base, or a good background for, and I can chip these into smaller pieces, make a good background for the shuttle that'll look more alien. And I'm thinking, you know, some funky paints on it, and I could throw some gravel and some other stuff on here to make it look more alien, perhaps some sort of weird grasses. But I just think that would make me a nicer background than if I had tried to fake up something in styrofoam. So we'll be playing with this throughout the rest of the week. Now you have the shuttle in front of the rocks, and the one thing I'm not getting here that I really would like is some height. So maybe I need to do a combination of things to generate some oh, something like that would be nice. Yeah, so now I'm seeing some height that I was wanting. And maybe I can do the rock outcropping like this. I could maybe carve a little Excalbium and put him here next to it out of this lava rock. But something like that, and then maybe I'll add some styrofoam rocks to it. Or I'll run out and see if I can go to a different pet store and get some more of the stuff. Yeah, I like that. It gives me the little cove that I was looking for. Plus it gives me the height. Alrighty, I'm working today on the light box that's going to go in the back around the main strip lights for the main engine. And yes, I'm calling this the impulse engine. I don't know. I don't think that these sublight engines, I don't think that the shuttle were ever meant to have warp capability. I just don't. I know the later series gave warp power to their shuttles, but to me it just kind of belies the whole idea of a shuttle, which is to go up and down to a planet, or to go to a starbase, or to use as a short-term vehicle. So I don't believe that they had warp power, even though they had two engines at the bottom that looked like warp engines, that looked like they were small versions of the main engines on the Enterprise. I just don't believe, and I could be wrong, but I never have held to the theory that these were warp engines. These were only sublight capable or else you know, they wouldn't have to worry about, and particularly in Menagerie, that Commodore Mendez and Kirk were going to be stranded at a point of no return, because I believe these were ships that had fuel that did not run on antimatter. So all of this worked into making the warp engine, or the I just said it, the sublight engines go. So I am not, as I said in the first episode, I am not lighting up the front of the nacelles, but I am going to light the back here because it's big, it's screaming for light. So this is what I've come up with. This is basically a cone shape that will, or a parabola, a parabolic shape in here that is designed to be attached to the inside here. Now it'll be attached on this one, over on this kit over here. I need a better, you guys zoom out and give you a better lay of the land here. This is the shuttle that I'm working on. These are parts of the second shuttle that I have that I'm using for test fitting and such. But once I get this to fit here, then I know I can pop it in and fit it in here, so long as, there we go, so long as it will still fit in one, it will fit in the other. Let me grab my tweezers to pull that back out. But what I'm going to do is put a strip light of white LEDs in here, and then pack this full of fiberfill. And then by the time I push it up against the clear piece, oh, the mess! And you may recognize what's starting to happen here. Yes, I'm starting to work on the box that's going to house the ceiling lights. Ceiling lights I still have not exactly completely figured out yet, but I've got a good idea about. So you would say that you take this clear piece and fit it here. Actually, what I'm going to do is probably go ahead and fit the clear piece to the front of this box, so that will give me that surface to stick it in by. And here you can see the light is the strip has been sunk in there. You can see, maybe from the top you can see the contours of that parabola a little bit better, but by the time you do that, it just turns glaring into the camera. And then this would go in front of it. Actually, I stuff it full of fiberfill, and then this goes in front of it, and then the whole thing goes into the back there. So what I want to do now is do the reinforcing with the epoxy, and then let the whole thing cure whilst I go get some lunch. Okay, I've got the new lights box stuffed with fiberfill, and now I have to do the one thing that kind of goes against my grain as a modeler. I have to take this nice clean piece of styrene and purposefully and deliberately scratch it up, because I want a diffused light coming out of this back grill that has to go here, and I don't want to see a smooth, well, I don't want to see the fiberfill, and if I do that, then I'm looking straight at the fiberfill. So I need to purposefully scratch up a piece of clear styrene, and it's like I say, it's a bit counterintuitive. So let's start with good old sandpaper. Now I gotta pick, I'm only gonna do one side of this because I'm not a monster. I only need to scratch up one side. So I'm just gonna start with sandpaper, or a sanding block, and I'm just going to, well, I'm going to learn where my camera is this morning. I've had this problem all day. Get this all nice and frosted. Frosted like the mini wheats I had for breakfast. Okay, so that's going to go like that. I'm going to hold that in place. And then I'm just going to go around the edges of it with the 10X. Which takes a little bit longer to dry than 1 minute epoxy. You know, I probably could use CA here, because the big fear of using CA on clear styrene is that it will craze it. Well, I don't really know. I don't really care if this gets clouded up with CA. It's tough to hold this because it is exactly on the perimeters, exactly on the edge of that box, which means there's not a lot of overlap to get your glue on. And then I'll probably take a lighter, wave it around it after the glue has flashed off, because the glue is flammable. But what it does is it burns off the stray fiberfill strands. You set up. Let me get the ever-present lighter out. You gotta blow them out. You make sure. If you get too close to it, they can catch. There. All of my fibers have been singed back. I can attach this there you go. Nice diffused. A little bit of a hot spot on the side here because the bulb is very close to the edge of the plastic. Okay. Wise up here, guy. There you go. Now, I should be able to move that out of the way, move this out of the way, but show what this is going to look like once it's inside the box. There we go. I just need to glue this up in the right place. But there you go. Instant lights for the back of your shuttle. Well, if that don't light your candle, I don't know what will. That's boo-daddy bright there. Whew. Yeah, once I get the outer roof on. No, I'm sorry, this is in backwards. It needs to go this way. And then the roof on it. Ooh, boy. That's bright. Oh, I don't know whether you saw the photo etch I've added to the consoles. I had to find some delicate way to paint over them now, but that's just scrap photo etch that I think looks appropriate. I have to tint those three there, and I got to paint over the brass, but coming along. Okay, I'm playing with the ideas for the base, and I gotta tell you, these lava rocks are heavy as sin. This thing weighs a ton. I won't be able to put that on a typical shelf. It's gonna have to sit somewhere special. But this is the mock-up shuttle, but it will show how this is gonna sit with the alien base, and I think I'm gonna try to put something in front. I've got some smaller stones around these big lava rocks and the big alien plant there, and the other one will have the open doors and all that, so maybe we'll put some little flora and fauna, smaller rocks around the front here. But it's roughed out. That's basically the shapes. That's basically the overall masses. So now what I would do is I would get the hot glue out and hot glue these down in place so that I can start painting on them. But yeah, I think that's how it's gonna, yeah, that looks good. Hey, welcome back. It is Wednesday, and weirdness has happened because what you don't see here, I am also working on a second shuttle, the other one that I was using for my mock-ups. I am finishing that one off as a outside shell with no interior, so that I can do the painting templates for the registries and whatnot. And it is being built with the door closed and all of that. So I'm kind of running back and forth between the two. Now, working in the this shuttle, for some reason, on all of the jostling back and forth, I have broken this door. This door does not want to, one of the little hinge pins busted off of it. And I can't really rebuild that the way I would like because it's kind of late in the process of building. If I could put a brass wire there, I might consider that, but it's going to be tough to get that to fit because it would need to be sprung to spring back out to both sides. Anyway, that's my problem. That's not your problem. But now that I've got the front interior finished, I need to do some last minute touches on the instrument panels, and then I can finish off this wall and put the rest of the chairs in, and I'll be ready to close this up to where I can paint the outside of this as well. And I want to go ahead and put the templates on masks on the front windows so that I don't get any errant paint spray on them. And also going to be attempting to mask the registries off and paint all of that. So this obviously needs to go on the back to protect the windows here from getting any paint spray, overspray on them. That's going to be all good and safe. And let me see, I need a something with a fuzzy end on to push that down in. Okay, good. That's nice and protected. Now I have to figure out how I'm going to run power out of this. I think I'm going to run power out through just a little wee hole on the bottom next to the newly painted landing gear. So, and I'm also thinking about, I've got the back panels in. And yeah, I think just drilling a hole straight down through there and running the wire out, or running a wire up into it that I can then, well, fuzz. Okay, welcome back. It is Wednesday. Work progresses on the shuttle. The other half of this that you're not seeing is work is progressing on the other shuttle, which I am using again as my mock-up so that I can formalize the painting templates so that you can paint the names and the stripes on this. Now, that is a different animal than this one because that one, the doors are closed, has no interior, and so that I can paint straight across here. Obviously, with these doors missing, it's not going to be easy to paint the red stripe on it. So what I need to do at this point is think about the best way of running wiring out of this particular ship. And I think what I want to do is wire it to a jack and then have that jack connect to the bottom so that when it sits on the base I can plug it into that. I just need to figure out which is going to be the best method of doing that. So, okay, I've just been doing a bit of electrical work on the shuttle, finishing it up. I put in a plug adapter down here so that I can plug power into it. I'm going to put a switch in this console here. And I took a break to see if the mail had gone yet. And yes, mail call. I've got a package from friend of the show and all-around good egg, Elliot Brown. We had talked a little bit over the weekend about lighting the ceiling panel. And what a fun thing that was going to be. And he suggested a couple of things to try. And I'm trying to clean up all this because I have not opened the box yet to see what might be in here. All kinds of goodies. It's like Christmas morning. What has... Elliot sent me a block of wood. Thanks, Elliot. With 2 holes in it. I don't know exactly what that's for. Oh, I bet you that's to hold my paint so I don't knock things over. Because I have been known to do that. As a matter of fact, I did it yesterday off camera. You'll notice there are no lines or numbers here on my cutting mat anymore because the methyl ethyl ketone ate that away. I made a nice little, and I immediately grabbed every bit of plastic that was in the way of the spill because it would have melted it to the ground. It did get some of the scratch building material that I had been using, some of the strip styrene. That went up and melted like nobody's business. But luckily no major kit parts were in the way. Whenever I spill something, I always go for the kit parts first and then the decals. Let's see. Let's see what has he wrought. Oh my goodness, there are bags of goodies in here. Okay, we've got a strip light with a potentiometer on it, with a pot on it, which means I can dial up or down the brightness. Oh, now see, Elliot, he had done me good last time when he sent me all those double bright LED strips. These are just some, 82 ohm, 150 ohm. I like you for spelling these out for me because I can't read the little numbers, the color stripes on the sides. These are warm white ultra brights. Ooh, those could be fun. But let me see. I've got something, and some heat shrink. Thank you. I've got something cooked up, but I want to see if this would fit it first. This is the ceiling. This is the fixture that I've made. This is the side firing. No, that's not gonna. That's too thick. I'd have to make this a whole lot thicker to make this work. So I'm thinking, as much as I love these, ooh, that's just prettiness. I might have to try out these 1.8 mil by 2 mil ultra bright warm whites. Let me see if I get one of these. I'm fully knowledgeable that this piece might be too fat. This may be the problem. But this is what I want to do, is put this frame on the ceiling. Do these fit? They fit side to side. They might even fit inside of here. Ooh. Ooh. It makes the ganglia twitch. This is giving me all kinds of ideas, Elliot. All kinds of ideas. We'll have to see. That's some tiny fiddly work. This is the more of that double density or triple density, high density stuff. I love that. Let's see, we got there. We got some. Gave me a bag of 2000 ohm, 9 to 12 volt. I'm just going to, let me try that, see how that works. First we're going to plug in a 9 volt power source. We're going to unplug something. Okay, we've got a 9 volt power source. And we're going to try this on here. Okay. Nice. Now, if I understand this correctly, I should be able to put this in line and Now, if this works right, I should be able to turn this up and down. Oh, turn it up and down accordingly, which is great because I don't want the ceiling lights to be overly bright. I want it to light up the inside of the shuttle, but I don't want this to look like a tanning bed. So if I can dial this to a certain brightness and then set it, that would be tremendous. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Even the compressor agrees. It's a candy day. It's a candy day. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you for the candy. Okay, so we have power plug. Power plug goes into power plug socket. Push it up in there. And the fact that that's at a nice right angle means this will sit on the ground nicely. I have tiny switch. Tiny switch. I might even want to use a tool of some sort to make the tiny switch go rather than trying to do it by hand. But tiny switch. Tiny switch. Come on, tiny switch. Turn on tiny switch. Now there's a yellow mask in front of that. But now we have all of our lighting for our interior, our headlights, which you can see the reflection way out here on my hands of the headlights. Okay, pardon the sound of industry going on in the background, but I want to start painting on the hulls of these shuttlecraft, and because I know everybody will ask, I will say this once and once only, and please write it down if you feel you must. The colors I am using for the underside and the nacelles is dark gray. It is Model Master acrylic dark gray. That is dark gray acrylic Model Master 4754 if you need to write the number down. But I'm using that for the underside and for the nacelles on both of them. Well, I'll use it on the underside of the other one as well, but that's out in the other room drying, and as soon as I clear the table off, I'll go get that. Okay, as the plotter plots in the background, it's time to put the lighter color on the shuttle, and I am going to start with a 50-50 mix of light sea gray and light gray, again in the Model Masters. And people, you might ask me, why aren't you using Tamiya for this? Well, I like the finish that Model Master gives me a little bit more than the Tamiya finish, particularly because a lot of the Tamiya paints they're either flat or gloss. There's not really a lot of middle ground. And these Model Masters are kind of semi-gloss. They're not flat, dull flat like the Tamiyas are, but they're not glossy either. So I'm going to start on the bottom side of this first shuttle, and if I don't like the color, this is the one I can afford to experiment on. I already tell you the answer is a resounding no. No on the light sea gray. No matter how much I use it, it muddies up the light gray, and I think the problem is that the light sea gray is a warm gray and the light gray is a cool gray, and the dark gray that I've used here is also a cool gray. So it's when I cross that line from warm to cool, or from cool to warm, that's when things go horribly wrong. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to paint straight over top of it with just a light gray flat on, and see how well it does. Okay, I've been painting this light gray on here, and I gotta tell you, it's not easy business. I probably, and I would recommend this to y'all, I would probably should have put a undercoat of the white primer on it rather than using the gray primer, because trying to get this up, and this is not nearly as white as it looks. This is a gray, a very light gray, but it is a gray nonetheless. But getting it to cover this much area with a tiny airbrush is not fun. I am not enjoying my modeling today. You really need a power roller, and the fact is, it's just such an area of flat, wide open. There's no nooks and crannies to get in and around. The fact that it's, flat plains of area really makes this difficult to paint with an airbrush. You really need a rattle can. And unfortunately, rattle cans don't come in that many colors. So you're left with putting down multiple coats, which is what I'm going to do. This is it for today. Excuse me. I shouldn't be spraying and talking at the same time. I should be putting the respirator back on because there is a cloud of light gray mist hanging in the air like you wouldn't believe. Maybe it'll all settle back down on it and take care of it for me. But that's all I'm going to put on today because it's just getting soggy, and I'm worried about the paint running. It's just a mess. The paint itself is not that diluted, but I'm putting it on way too thick because I'm not getting the coverage that I want. And I really think if I had it to do over again, and who's to say that I might not, but I would put a white primer on this and then paint down from white rather than up from gray, if you get my meaning. Well, good morning. This is Thursday. The week is drawing nigh, and not getting quite as much done as I would like to this week, but it's taking the time that it needs to take. And today we are going to be putting some paint on things finally. And what I am working on are the painting masks that will allow me to paint the registries. I am still of a mind whether or not we're going to be able to paint the names, the Galileo name, because that is awfully fine detail, and I don't know for sure how well the masks are going to work for that. So we may end up still using the decals strictly for those little red shapes that have text on them and the name. But if we can get away with doing the entire registry as a painted thing, then I would be happy. Okay, so I am looking at what my layout is. Need to trim this up a bit. I did touch up the paint this morning on the hull because, as I said yesterday, when you are trying to get all of that coverage at one time, it can be a messy business because it'll end up putting on the paint too thick. So it's best to do that in a couple of lighter coats. Let me go ahead and cut this one mask out that I'm looking for, which is this one. Now I tried to include in the framework of the mask a way for you to simply use the outer edge of the mask as a guide. And if you line the outer edge of the mask up with the outer edge of the hull, it will put it in the correct position without you having to do a bunch of funky measuring, because moving these masks around is not, I won't say it's not easy, and I won't say it's not good for them, but it's so much better if you can minimize the amount of time you're moving it around. So here's what the mask, let me see if I can get the border off of here. Okay, it never does this except for when I'm on camera. Okay, here is the outer shape of the mask. Now if you take that outer shape and you line it up with that edge and you lay it on that corner, it should put everything in the right orientation. So let me pull out. You know what the thing is, it's this paper towel, because the mask wants to be against a surface that doesn't have any give to it, and the paper towel will have some give to it. Okay. Okay, well, this is going to take a while. I will get right back to you. Okay, now I've got everything out of the mask. And now we're only going to have, I say only, but it's going to be something you need to worry about. We're only going to have 3 shapes that are going to concern us. 4 shapes that are going to concern us. We have the inside of the O, we have the inside of this R, this P, and this R. So those are the 4 shapes. Once we put this down in place, we are still going to have to eyeball those shapes to put them in place as well. So let's get the big mask off. Let's get the big guy. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me peel back half of this. Just a half of it. If I peel back that much until we get to the O, and then cut this much of paper off, that's going to allow us to position this without having the whole thing flopping around. So we line this up with the back edge of the shuttle. Ooh, careful, careful, don't stretch it. We're going to line this up with the back edge of the shuttle, and we are going to, I need to show you this before I show you this. We're going to find an area, we're going to define a spot right where the color changes. There's an area right just as it stops being a curve and starts going straight up the wall. It's not a sharp angle, but it's a defined angle. And that is where we're going to sit the bottom of the, and you can make a little pencil mark if you think it'll help you, something that you can erase later. I'm going to make a really light tick mark there, just to make it easy to see on camera. So there is the mark that I'm going to line the bottom of my template up with. And then I'm going to carry that same mark to the front. And it's going to be right about there. That'll help me as I'm putting the vinyl down to line up the bottom of the template. So the bottom of the template goes there. I tell you what, here's the thing. This paper is in the way. I need to trim this down to where it is actually hitting the bottom of the vinyl. That way it'll lie down a lot easier. Okay, so we take that out of the way. Now we're ready to go. Again, we're lining up this corner. There. This would be a lot easier if I weren't trying to do it on camera, or doing it so that the camera can see it. Okay, there's the height. Okay, whew. That is sitting on this back edge. It's even with the back edge, and it is sitting on that little mark. So let's do that. Now I'm going to have to pull the rest of the backing paper off. Now I don't know whether I should do this on camera or not. I will try. Now we want to make sure we're saving this paper because it's going to have the insides of those 3 shapes that we're going to want. Oh. Okay, we need to get the insides of these C's off. There we go. Actually, you know, I have found that vinyl pulls better left to right or right to left, and I'm doing it left to right. So okay. All right, now there are the 3 shapes that are left on the paper. Put that aside. Pull this out straight. Ah! Be careful that it doesn't. Man, getting the shuttle to lay down flat or having a cradle for it would definitely help. Okay, now I'm going to pull this. Okay, so that the bottom is lining up with that tick mark that I've made here. Now we just smear this up like this. And now our mask is down lightly. And now, oh, I think it would be worth making yourself a cradle that is, oh, that's why I had this foam out yesterday. That's why I had the foam out. Just give that something to land on. Okay, now I need to put in the center of the 0 and the center of the R and the P. So that's going to take some concentration and some focus, and I am going to turn the camera off. Okay, there you see I've got the O filled in, and the P and the R's, and the 2 R's and the P. I've got the little negative shapes put back in, and that's just eyeballing that. But we're going to have to do that 2 more times, once for the front and once for this side. And I think what I'm going to do is do all of that off camera and then come back when we're ready to put some paint down. Right before I go to lunch, there's one last thing I want to do. I have got all of the masks down, not on the nacelles, but on the shell first. I've got that side down. You saw that. I got the front one down. May not have seen that. And this one, and it went down a lot easier, and I think it's because I'm left-handed. I was able to lay that one down and just move it across a whole lot easier than this one. I had to move across this way. So I hope that made sense to you, because as I said, oh, I also got this one on the back. This tiny wee one. So what I need to do now is get some painter's tape and tape off the outside edges, the outer edges of these, and block the spots where the red paint goes, and we will be ready to put the black paint on. Okay, everything is taped off and ready to spray. You'll see generous, of course it's yellow tape, and yellow tape next to yellow vinyl is sometimes difficult to make out, but I love this tape. It's the Delicate Surface Frog tape. I use it for everything. But let's go ahead and put some black in the brush and get these sprayed on. Now, I'm going to go about this fairly gingerly. Pressed everything down to make sure we get a nice tight seal between the vinyl. And I've also got the red areas blocked off because I don't want to get any black paint where the red paint is going to go. It's just going to make it easier to do that. Okay, we got the black brush going. Everybody cross your fingers. Here we go. Nice and light. I don't want to plaster it on. I'll come back over it. Okay, now we'll go work our way around the ship. Do that one. Now I'll do the one up front. Okay, work to this side. And one last one back here. I think I'll also try to get these vanes on the back of the engine. Okay, one last go around on here in case there's any spots I missed. Try to keep the overspray to a minimum. Black is one of those colors like red where any little speck of it that gets where you don't want it to be will really ruin the rest of your finish, particularly if you've got a nice bright white or a very pale gray. You don't want to have a speck of black on there. Okay, going to let that dry. Now I've got a little bit of black left in the brush, so what I need to do is find the insert that goes in there, and or the insert that goes in the back, and spray that with the black while I still have it in the brush. Okay, I'm back from lunch. It was Chinese today. You know what they say, I don't care about the rest of civilization. As long as I can keep my Chinese food, I'm happy. So I've got the black all painted on this shuttle, and I was getting ready to swap out and paint the red, and I realized, wait a minute, I probably should go ahead and get the other shuttle and paint the black on it while everything is still set up, and I know what I'm doing and all of that. So that's what I figured I would do. I'll just go ahead. The only problem with this one is because of the open doors, I'm going to have to paint those separately. But it's all masked off and ready to go. All I need to do is plot. That's why you hear the plotter, because I'm making another set of masks for the markings. And I'm going to just break the surface there a bit with a clean sponge. And get the little snot balls off of here, and get ready to mask this and paint the black just like I did. Okay, so I've got the black sprayed on the second shuttle, and I'm trying to fight to keep this place from turning into an absolute pigsty. What I'm going to do right now is block off the areas where the red stripe goes. I've already got that, it's on the same mask, so I don't have to put down a new mask, but I do have to move the perimeter tape around, the yellow painter's tape. I need to put some more of that up. It's going to be tricky going across that door. We're going to have to, that's going to have to get taken care of separately, at least on this kit. But on this kit, all we need to do is, let me put this one up since this one has had longer to dry, and it'll be ready to paint quicker. I just have to mask off around where the black paint is and where the hull is. But that should be easy enough to do, and I need to do that on both sides. No, don't have to worry about front or back, which is nice. Okay, both shuttles this time. I remembered that I had another one to worry about, so I went ahead and blocked the red stripe on both of these now. Oh, and I still forgot. I want to go ahead and do that access door that for some reason turned into a brake light, but it is clearly an access door on the back here. I don't know how that ever turned into a red light when it is clearly a red door. And I want to be very careful. I don't even get a splatter of this anywhere that I don't want. Okay, clean in the brush. Now you would be right to ask in all of this, how come you haven't done the nacelles? And I'll tell you, it's because I am not 100% sure of my dark gray color. I am okay with this lighter gray color, but I am not for certain sure that I won't repaint the darker gray just to lighten it up a little bit. So if I want to do that, then there's no sense putting the pennants on the nacelles. Okay, there's the red stripe. I'm going to try something now. I'm going to try it. We are going to see how successful this will be. I have weeded one of the Galileo names. I am not 100% sure, but we're going to try it. I am wary of this only because of how thick the masking material is, and whether we'll get a clean transfer. It has those types of shapes inside of the A, the E, and the O that I need to eyeball. Now the Galileo name goes on the front, also on both sides, but it goes on the front, right up front, right in the middle at a jaunty angle. So we're going to try this. Okay, I've got it on the front of the, trying to get around the airbrush here. I've got it around the, underneath the middle window, right above the name. It's maybe a touch high, but I like the angle. If I was going to do a decal, it would be at that same angle anyway. It kind of is centered under that window. Tape off the outside of this and we will be ready to paint. Okay, this is gonna be the big test case. This is gonna determine whether I'm gonna try doing this on the other two names and whether I include these in the masks or not. I figure if I can do it, I can ask other people to do it, but if I can't do it, I shouldn't ask anybody else to do it. Push the inside of that E down. Okay, so all of the painter's tape is down. I leave the vinyl on for a little bit longer, but wanted to get the painter's tape off as soon as practical. And the thing you have to worry about when you're doing that is you have to be very careful not to accidentally get any wet paint from the tape back on your ship, because then you've just negated the whole reason why you've put tape up there to begin with, which is to keep the surface clean. Now I am looking to see if I've got any more good Galileos. I think I do for the sides. I'm gonna hold off and let all this dry, because putting tape up around where those side registry or the side names has to go might interfere with some other wet paint. So I can afford to let that dry and then come back to it in about a half hour or so. Taking a slight detour from the nice clean lines of the shuttlecraft into working in some of the details, some of the stones that are set dressings for the base. And I'm finally getting an opportunity to use up this purple color shift paint that I had bought when I was doing the saucer, but ended up scrapping. So all of these really unusual and out there colors that may not be used on a day-to-day basis, I can really have liberty to use on this really exotic stonework for the base. Oh, that's going to be fun. Let's put some of that on. I just have to make sure I don't get any overspray on my actual shuttles here, so I maybe need to move those out of the way. I'll stack them over here like flapjacks. There you go. There's the little shuttle on shuttle action there. Okay, back to the detail work on these. I should probably put a rag down or something so that I don't get too much paint on the tabletop here. I'll just throw a t-shirt down. I don't want these to get too muddy. That's a real concern. That's a real easy thing to do, is that you start muddying up the colors. I want there to be enough striation and variation that the colors come out with, ironically, even though they're rocks, I don't want them to be monolithic. Lithic meaning stone, mono meaning one. I'm reminded of that Neolithic scene from Raiders where he's writing the word on the chalkboard and trying to make sure he's spelling it correctly. But now I can just blot some of this off of the top, and that'll bring out some of the gold that I painted on it earlier. And it's blotty. And now on this one, blot some of the excess off. No wrong colors. I feel a bit like an intergalactic Bob Ross here. No wrong colors for this base. Alrighty, I think time has come to take these vinyl masks away. Now I have one last bit that needs to get painted, and that is, I need to make sure I've got all of my masks here, is the little yellow chevron that goes at the front edge of these stripes. Now, there's one, there it is. The thing to do, because it overlaps the red stripe, is you paint the red stripe and then you pull that off, and then you kind of eyeball where on that stripe this mask needs to go, and then you paint white. I usually paint just a little bit of white, and then that makes the yellow stand out. But because we are on a very, very light gray anyway, I'm going to skip the white stage and just go straight onto the yellow. So I've got my yellow paint out, and it's a little bit more, it is, to me, is flat yellow, which is a little more, well, let me see, let's use this one instead. Let's use this flat yellow because it's a little bit brighter, and then I'll make up for the fact that the white is not underneath it. So we've got the paint. Let's take off the mask. Ooh, this is going to be the tricky part. I think I may want to put a brand new blade in, only because I need to dig underneath these vinyl to get the masks on, and I don't want to have to do a lot of digging. So, glasses off. Oddly enough, it makes me see better. And we are going to start by removing just the ones up front here. Okay, now that is the Galileo without. We take these bits from the interior, and I was concerned that perhaps the detail was too fine to be captured, but sure seems to work. Ooh, pretty, pretty. Look at that. Let's take the these floating sections out. Look at that. Look at that, ladies and germs. Not a decal in sight. That's not too shabby. Okay, let's get this big. Well, let's go this. Let's do them smaller ones first, and then we'll go and do the very large ones. But let's do this one. Oh, that's lovely. Again, not another decal in sight. Okay, here comes the big ones. Okay, let's get the okay. There you go. Painted, not decaled. Shaken, not stirred. I decided to go ahead and put the white back coating behind the yellow. Why? Because I just had red in my airbrush and I wanted to make sure that that was all out. So, plus it just punched it up and cleaned up the outline a little bit. Plus I'm working with yellow vinyl and yellow tape and putting yellow paint right over top of that. Sometimes it might be tough to see whether you've got your coverage. But if you put white paint down and then put the yellow on top of it, then you can see if you've covered up where the white is, then you know you've got all of the area painted. I am going to sit with this the rest of the night. I'm going to come back to it in the morning, and that's going to tell me whether or not this dark gray is going to be the final color, or whether I'm going to do something about it. I'm starting to live with it now that I see all the other colors butted up against it. It makes more sense. It is less jarring. So rather than impulsively just go and repaint it, I think I'll sit and let it ruminate. And I've got plenty of time to do the nacelle markings tomorrow. Let's go ahead and take some of this extraneous tape off, because if I am going to repaint it, then this tape would need to come off anyway. So let's go ahead and finish the day out by removing all of this tape. You know, before the end of the day, I think a great place to stop would be to go ahead and put the last Galileos on. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. If I can put the last, or put the Galileos on the sides, then all of that paint can be drying overnight before I get back to it tomorrow. Oh, look at that. That's a beauty. Okay, I've got 4 of the Galileo names weeded out. And trust me, I won't think less of you if you decide to use the decals on this. I'm a glutton for punishment myself. That's why I do it. But really, you could use the decals, and I don't think anybody would think you any the lesser. But now that I've got these cleaned out, I can put them on both sides of both of them. Well, good morning. It is Friday. It is the last work day of the week, and I am in my typical Friday quandary. I have 2 shuttles in front of me. I am not going to finish both of these shuttles this week, so that means carrying this over into another week, because I still have a lot to do on the base. So what I would like to do is to carry on. I will take this shuttle that I have got all of the markings painted, including the Galileos. I want to make one that's called Figaro. I don't know why, because I want to have Galileo, Figaro. Make a Figaro shuttle. I just don't know what number it would be. And maybe a Bismillah. That would be nice. That could be the USS Bismillah, and the name of it would be the Figaro. This is what happens when I get to the end of a week of Daffy building. So the good news is I'm happy with this dark gray color. I'm happy with the dark gray color. But I have decided, I think I said yesterday, to make this a enhanced remastered effects shuttle. And that means 2 things. That means lighting the front of the nacelles with a white light. It also means lighting this back area blue. It also means putting the headlights in, which is an obvious, easy thing to do. But it also means covering over this, because they very clearly show the rear landing gear retracting, and they retract into these little doors, and then they shut up. The doors shut up, not me. I will keep yammering for a while. So I need to make little patches to go over top of these doors. And I'll scribe maybe a little line in there to make it look like it is the hatchway. So that's going to be the focus of an amount of work, which I can push off into next week. What I would like to do today, move this out off of the plate, move this forward. There you go. I would like to finish up this Galileo Figaro as much as possible this week, and I've got a few things left to do. One is to finish this driver's side wall. The wall is finished. I need to put the seats in and the wall computers. I also need to touch up the wall computers that I've got in here. I need to paint these doors, which I know I should have painted before I stuck them in the wall. This is the learning curve. And the last but not least, I need to come up with some sort of lighting for the ceiling. Now luckily I have been putting my bumpy little head together with Elliot Brown about how the best way to do that is going to be, and I think I've got a solution, at least something worth trying. So that's really what's going to be on the menu for today. Completely broke off both hinges on that, so I'm going to end up gluing that in the open position. I can go ahead and take these off because I know that I won't be needing them. And I had, oh, there's the landing gear. I had a piece of foam here that I don't seem to see where it is right now, so I'll take this foam sanding pad to set that down on. The good news is, since I'm decided to live with this color, I can go ahead and put the paint the markings and the stripes on these for both shuttles. We'll see how much of this all gets done today. But let me first take everything that has to do with this shuttle and move it into another room so that I have more space to work out here. Another thing that it's going to take an amount of time is I still haven't put the decals on. Now I know the big decals have been taken care of, the big numbers and all that, but there's all of these red decals and the circuitry decals that go on the back hatch and all that kind of stuff. That still needs to be done, and that's going to take an amount of time to do. Like I said, the large ones are taken care of, but I still have these smaller ones to worry about, so that has to be done. And then I have to flat coat it, or gloss coat it, then flat coat it. So there's still an amount of work to be done, and if I tried rushing it all through to get it done today, I don't think the results would be up to my standards. So that's why I am backing off of the goal of trying to get everything done today. Okay, ladies and germs, I might have half a frame here to show, and if this works, then I already know what to do with the other half. So here goes nothing, or here goes very little. Make sure that you can't see this. There you go. It's lighting up. There's 3 bulbs lighting up this half of a frame. If I can put 3 more on that side and then use one of Elliot's dimmers on it, once I can dial in the brightness once I get it up on the ceiling. Okay, I think I can. You know, what makes the lighting in Trek, particularly the ceiling lighting, so memorable is that they always put things through a grate or a grill. Very rarely do you get flat washed lights. And I think I've come up with something. I've got a little bit of screen in there, and the PETG that I'm using has a green film on it. You know, and that might take care of this green problem everybody seems to have with my interior, that I don't think it's green enough. Maybe this green lighting will accomplish the thing, but that's kind of the idea. Now if I can do that with the other side and join them together, we're going to have a lighting for the ceiling. Okay, we're coming up on the end of the day, and what I'd like to do is get this light installed and painted first, and then installed, and close the ceiling up. I know I'm not done with this wall with the chairs and stuff yet, but I want to at least show how the lighting looks on the inside, so we need to paint this first. Okay, I just took the precaution of light blocking the inside of the ceiling. Not only will that help multiply the light and push it down, one would hope, but it would also help so that you don't get hot spots showing up through the outside of the shuttle, since I've already got pretty much the final paint on that. So now we take the grill and we lay it down on this, and then we're going to use some CA, I believe, to hold that in place, tack it in place, because the ceiling's got a bit of a curve to it, and I want to bend this to fit that curve. Okay, we're coming down to the wire for Friday afternoon, and I think I've got something you're going to like to see. Test fitted it myself first to make sure I wasn't going to make myself a public embarrassment. But I need to put one little notch in the top of the back wall that will allow this wiring to pass through without bowing the ceiling. I can make that notch much bigger on the back wall, or the back of this wall sandwich, because no one will see that, one would hope. Okay, so we do this, we push this back, come on, there we go, pull everything forward. Okay, you're in there and you're in there. Now, here's something I have noticed. The instructions say to attach, sorry, I'm back, attach this part to the roof. But I have found that if you push the roof in and then wedge this in behind it, it will help you key everything in much better than if you had just put the ceiling in by itself. Okay, now what you really want to see is what happens when I'm going to take the front windows off, front window masks off. I can put new ones on because I still need to have a mask on there while I am clear coating this. But like I said, I can put another one on here. This is just for show. And there you go. Now there is a light on the ceiling, and I'm going to turn the overheads off so you can see. But it is not a glaring light. It is not a tanning bed. It is just a nice illumination. Oops, let's take these windshields, or these headlights. Now these are very warm. I don't know if that's something I need to worry about in the future or not, but for right now, let's get this last chair out of here. This is the chair that is not glued down. There you go. Now the doors are still outside because I have put a primer coat on them. But yes, I'm very happy with how that is because it is not overly lit. The lighting is indirect enough that you can see it, but it is not obvious. Yes, I'm very happy with that. Okay, I think that's where we're gonna leave it. Oh, well, let me do this. I can go ahead and put the landing gear in place. Landing gear, the nacelles. You know what I meant. I do need to put that back landing gear on, but did not get the pennants painted today, and for that I will do pennants. And the rear landing gear. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if the headlights are going to end up being an issue or not. I hope not. Okay. But there you go. There's the, of course, the back lights, nice and bright. The interior lights, the headlights. I said headlights, not headlights. And one set of the seats and the instruments. So that is where, oh, and the tiny switch. The tiny switch is right in here. So you open up this back door and flip the tiny switch. And that, my friends, is going to do it. As week 3 stretches into week 4. We made a heck of a lot of progress this week. Most notably, the painting of the registries on both ships, and pulling the other ship off of the waiting room and finishing it out took a lot of the time. Still, plenty of things to do. The door obviously needs refined and finished. We've got to get this on the base. The base I've been working on, that's in the other room. That was a chunk of the week. And then finishing up the nacelles, and we'll be done with these. But that ceiling light, I'm really happy with the ceiling light. And I'll flip on the switch here again, the tiny switch. And I don't see any light leaks through the ceiling, which is really what I was kind of dreading, because that had the biggest potential to really mess up the look of everything. I could put more coats of paint on there, but it really wouldn't be the same. So this is turning out, once I get this door, the door, as much as I wanted to do with that, has turned out to be probably one of the biggest boondoggles and wastes of time. And you know, nice idea, but poor in execution. That I could say about the whole kit. But when you can look in there and there's lighting and it's not a freaking tanning bed, that's the important thing. And then of course the bright lights come out the back. It really shows off the nice interior, and I cannot get to where those headlights are, but if those are going to be a problem, it's going to have to be something that's rectified on the next build. But there you go. I said this last week, I'll say it again this week. Next week should be the last part of this, because I really can't imagine too much more that needs doing. But what I've got to do mainly is get this on the base and get it oriented how it's going to be to finish off. That base is getting monstrously heavy because of all the lava rock that's on it. So got to eat my Wheaties if I'm going to carry that to a show. So until next week, when hopefully we will be finishing this kit. You be good. You be good to each other. You stay safe. You stay sane. And we'll see you here next week.